Well, I was asked by many persons outside of the Caribbean and in the Caribbean to tell them more about myself as a comedian because they love my content and they want to know more about me as a person. Well, because most people from outside the Caribbean or even in the Caribbean sometimes don't know which country I'm from. They will say I'm from Trinidad, I'm from St. Lucia, I'm from Jamaica, but I was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that's 32 islands and keys. And I moved to the British Virgin Islands at a tender age and lived here all my life. And the BVI consists of 60 islands and keys. So I'm from multi islands. I have many islands to play with. So I really big up the Caribbean. I'm a true Caribbean citizen. But the two islands I represent big time is St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the British Virgin Islands. But I'm a comedian from a little boy. I'm the little boy you don't want to sit down close to in a church service or at a funeral or at a wedding or at a christening because I always find the funny side of things to talk about. I'll be at a funeral, everybody's crying, and I always see something funny. And the person close to me, most of the time, will be crying. And then when I start talking about what I see, the funny things, it will be mayhem. So from a little boy, I always find the funny side of things to talk about. I see the laughter in everything, basically. So that's the way I was made. That's the way God made me. And I really love representing the Caribbean and the wider region, from Guyana right up to the Bahamas. But the two main islands I represent and I big up most of the time will be my birth country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and where I reside now in the British Virgin Islands. The main thing for me as a child growing up was basically I make sure my grandparents, I grew up my as a child, I'm a boy, with my grandparents. So basically, I get that sweet Vincy Caribbean dialect. I get the sayings. I hear the phrases and so on, because that's how my grandparents would talk, and they would talk in parables, and they were talking phrases and so on. And now I become older, and I think back on some of the things that they used to say is now they make sense. But before, it never make any sense to me. Like, for example, my grandfather had said one time, look at my cousin, he's as stupid as a bat. So I said, why would he say a bat is stupid? Until I was watching National Geographic one day, and I realized a bat sleep upside down and they defecate on themselves. I said, oh, wow, that's why. So growing up with my grandparents gave me that grassroots Caribbean Vincy growing up, and also helped me to nurture me, really bring me into the culture and the sayings and the norms. So that's why I'm so up to this point. You cannot get the Vincentian dialect out of me, because my grandparents are real grassroots people in St. Vincent. I grew up in that area, in that era. And they were really into their dialect. They didn't care about standard English. They would speak their dialect. So that's why I always tell people across the Caribbean, don't be afraid to speak their dialect. Don't be afraid to speak it, because it is colorful. It's us. That's who we are. Because some of us will go out of the Caribbean and now want to speak proper English. They dot every I, cross every T, and then that's to me. When they come back, they want to impose or let us know how we are speaking is not nice. That's not a good thing to speak. The dialect doesn't sound right at all. So that does get me really upset, extremely upset, because what most people do not realize is that the English language is a breakaway language. Is different the language that comes together that makes up the English language, the dialect. English language is dialect. But so when we are speaking our dialect in the Caribbean, from Guyana right up to the Bahamas, when we're talking with dialect, don't come and tell me I am talking gibberish. I am talking my dialect from my country, from my region, and that is that's who we are. So we have to appreciate ourselves. We have to love ourselves. So back to the initial question: who is Collin Butler? Well, my mother is a black woman, and my father is a white man, and basically, I'm black and white. You can say that I'm a zebra, black and white. You catch it? Zebra. The unique thing about me is that growing up in the Caribbean or in these two countries, St. Vincent and Grenadines and the BVI, it gives me real sweet grassroots dialect. The BVI have sweet dialect also. I love how in the BVI we change our V to a W. So I will not say the British Virgin Islands. We will say the British Virgin Islands. And the dialect is really sweet also in the BVI. So I have part of piece of that. I have my Vinci language. So and then I can and the sweet thing about us in the Caribbean, we can always understand each other as a people. Jamaican can understand Vincentian and Trinidadian and so on and so forth. And then we in the Caribbean, we love to tell stories. So that's why my grandmother and my grandfather was great storytellers. At moonlight nights, they will start to talk stories. And most of the time, what I hated as a little boy growing up is that when they start to talk about the zombie stories or the ghost stories, and sometimes these stories are so scary that you don't want to go out to urinate in the night. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go and pee outside. No, when I say pee in the Caribbean, that's urinate. And then we will basically scared. Anything move, you get scared because of what your grandparents and the storytelling about the old stories about the ghosts and the zombies. So growing up was something else in the Caribbean. What I love about growing up is that what made me comical and also kind of nurture me as a child being a comedian is my grandmother and my grandfather. Although there was different from different ethnicity, they're basically all Vincentians, and so the white side and the black side, the real Vincentians, they speak a dialect, they know the foods, they know the talk, they know the norms and the phrase. So that make it even more sweeter growing up with my white grandfather and my black grandmother. What is unique about that is my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side is white, but my grandmother died on my father's side, white side died when my dad was something like 7 years old. So my grandfather, the white man, went and married a black woman. So and then now lately I realized that black woman who we call mommy, who grew up from 3 months old, was my great aunt. I never knew. So from birth, from child, a big old comedy mix-up story when he come to me, because I was 3 months old when my mom left, and then my grandmother, step grandmother, reared me, grew me as a child from 3 months old. My grandfather and my grandmother or my step grandmother basically never knew she's my great aunt. Life is something else, everybody. One big old mix up. So Collin, in a nutshell, Collin Butler is a jovial, someone who I believe was born to be a comedian. And I really love doing this for my fans. So everyone who really don't know who I am a Caribbean man first and foremost. I'm from 2 islands. I'm from 2 countries, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the British Virgin Islands. So all those who think I'm from Jamaica, I'm a part of Jamaica because I'm from the Caribbean, but I'm not from Jamaica. I'm from St. Vincent and the BVI. Thank you so much for being a part of me, and have a great day, everyone. See you on the other side.